Right, yes, that's enough of that already, isn't it? Welcome all 6 of you. I know I'm off schedule. I know I'm broadcasting at a completely different time of the day than usual. I just thought it might be very interesting to see, A, whether YouTubia decide to send out the notifications, and B, how many of my fine supporters are actually online and around at this time of the day. The answer seems to be, currently, 8. 8 people watching the stream. Fantastic. Welcome all 8 of you, including the Master Chief, who has deigned to show up on time. That way he won't have to report to Ted afterwards for a bit of administrative correction. Will you, Dave? Because nobody wants any of that. Oh, 21 people watching the stream. Goodness gracious, it's gone nuts up in here, hasn't it? Right, let's crack on without too much ado to you and you. Gil Carvalho, the invariably confused, the irretrievably incorrect purveyor of disinformation that he is. Gil has taken it upon himself to put together a video where he says in 3 steps he can show you how to avoid, let me get this right, what's the name of the video? How to cut through the confusion. How to cut through the confusion in 3 steps, according to Gil Carvalho here. It's really interesting that Gil would suggest to his viewership that he is competent to cut through the confusion as regards science, scientific interpretation of the literature, the conduct of science in any way, shape or form, because you see, he's never actually done any of that. He got a PhD from a diploma mill somewhere obscure. Possibly it looks like mostly via coursework and a little dissertation. Well, that's not a real PhD. And he's got an MD qualification, which he's never used. Not one single day in his life has he ever practiced medicine. So, frankly, what makes him think he's competent to speak to us about science, the scientific procedures, the disciplines of science, scientific epistemology in any way, shape or form? Well, I really don't know. Nonetheless, it's a topic that he feels that he wants to talk about. So let's hear all about what Gil Carvalho thinks the 3 steps to avoiding confusion on the interwebs about science and health and nutrition and stuff is, shall we? Before I get going, the usual caveats, I will pause this quite often when Gil says things wrong. The reason I say I'll pause this quite often when Gil gets things wrong is because, well, Gil gets things wrong quite often. So if you don't like people pausing other people's videos and correcting them, you're in the wrong place. Okay? Come back another day when I'm doing something different. Or indeed, join my Patreon, where starting this week, I'll be posting up the first video once I've recorded it in my new course. My new educational course, which only Patreon members at the $10 US a month level or above can get access to the full course. And basically, it's going to be about how to read a piece of literature, how to read a research article, and basically how to tear it to pieces, because every single one of them can be torn to pieces without breaking a sweat. The reason being is that when these buffoons want to wave papers in front of you and say, here, look, here's a paper that absolutely proves X, Y, or Z, isn't it fun if you have the skills to go, well, actually, here are the reasons why what you've just said is not only completely false, but also shows really the only thing it actually does prove absolutely is your absolute destitution of comprehension of science. You should be embarrassed for yourself, and I think you probably ought to remain silent on this topic in conversation for the rest of time. How's that? Wouldn't that be fun if you all had those skills? I could rest a happy man if I would be confident that all of you could handle that. So I'm going to put the course together so that you can. How's that? But as I say, you've got to join my Patreon to get access to that. And the place you go to find my Patreon and join it is the one-stop shop for all things Bart, which is at the bottom of the screen right now, wending its way across the screen in that yellow banner in black writing, the one that says bit.ly/Bart-KAY. That one. You can also go to the merchandise store there and make sure that I earn more than about $15 a month on merchandise, as I have been doing. That'd be awesome. T-shirts, mugs and things, they're all good. They're all good stuffs. All Ted approved, so they must be good. Isn't that right, Ted? Oops, he's too busy already with the knob twiddling. He's left the building. The other thing you can do there is you can join the Patreon at a higher level if you like. They're called discussion tiers. whatever. I didn't know what to call them, so I called them discussion tiers. That gets you access to me twice a month for an hour at a time on Zoom, where you can ask me stuffs, just you and me. I'll be all yours, a captive audience, and I'll answer your questions as best as I possibly can. So there's that. Maybe you want to go to the Cerule store and buy yourself some Cerule products, because they're awesome. They do exactly what they say they do. That is, that Stem Enhance Ultra causes your bone marrow to release your adult stem cells. Isn't that awesome? And the Cyactive is an anti-inflammatory, which works on the LOX and COX pathways, but doesn't have the side effects that the pharmacological versions have. And Plasma Flow is a blood flow optimizing agent, which dissolves fibrin deposits. All of those things are awesome. You need all of those things in your life. I can promise you that. Trust me, I'm safe and effective me. I'm the science. Don't question the science under any circumstances. And the rules here are no disagreeing with me, because if you do, that will immediately be deemed hate speech. Right, so let's disagree with Gil, because disagreeing with Gil isn't hate speech, it's just good common sense, isn't it? Because, well, basically everything Gil says is nonsense so far. I've seen Gil Carvalho say very few things that were actually correct, indicated, robust, or have any veracity of any kind. He's a boy with an opinion. And as I'm laboured to say every time I speak to you folks, let's all remember about opinions, shall we? In that they are almost exactly like arseholes. Almost everybody's got one, and it's full of shit. Thank you, John, for the 10 US greenback dollars. Appreciate those very much. Ted will use those for some nefarious purpose. I'm sure he will. Maybe he needs to resupply his bucket of soapy frogs for latecomers. And maybe he needs a new wetsuit with the bottom cut out, so that those people can get their full comeuppance for being late to class, perhaps. Appreciate that very much. Do feel free to super chat. Absolutely. Super chats are great. We get 70% of those. YouTube takes the rest. But anyway, we're very grateful for them. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Gil, tell us all about how to avoid the confusion, though. Are you ready, Ted?
Yes, I'm ready. Gil is a retard. Ha 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 ha!
Ted, come on, give the boy a chance.
I already have many times, and he's proven it again and again.
Yes, I know, but let's start with an open mind, because that's the way to go, isn't it? Right, Gil.
I get this all the time.
Do you?
Hey, I saw your video, but then I saw this other video, and it said the exact opposite. So who do I trust?
Well, there you go. That's a bit of a dilly of a pickle, really, isn't it? It's a dilemma. The thing is, if you don't know what you don't know, then you don't know that you don't know what you don't know. And people are often fooled by people with credentials after the name, like Gil Carvalho, MD, PhD, a boy who knows exactly dick about fuck regarding science, nutrition, health, or any of those things. These pieces of paper that people carry, I've got several of them myself, by the way. I'm not saying I don't. I have many pieces of paper, quite high-level ones, actually, terminal research degrees. They're called terminal for a reason, I think. Anyway, they're worth exactly shit. What you need to do, folks, is learn how to discern who it is that knows what they're talking about and who it is that's absolutely full of shit. Okay. Hello, everyone, from an Austrian living in Cambodia. Good, right. Is there any chance that it will also be provided on Subscribe Star? I hadn't planned to, Rolf. I had a Subscribe Star running for a while. And the reason I did that was because at one point in the past, Patreon did a thing that nobody liked, and so everyone had their noses out of joint with Patreon, so I had to have a Subscribe Star as an option for people. But it's kind of not a parallel offering. It's still there, and I can still take payments from people, but I haven't uploaded anything to it, and no, I wasn't planning on doing so. So if you are a Subscribe Star member at the $10 a month level or above and you want access to the course, send me an email and we'll work out some manner or means of making it happen, perhaps, if I'm in a good mood, or else not. How's that? Okay, who else is in the house before we carry on with Gil's protestations of knowing what he's talking about? Here's another bloke that you should probably pay attention to. It's another channel. I don't know if you guys know that this channel exists. It seems like not, because nobody subscribes to it to speak of. It's got a very, very small subscriber count as compared to this channel. But the bloke on there is really very knowledgeable. He also holds a number of research degrees, the exact same ones I hold, funnily enough. Only he wears a collar and tie mostly and doesn't swear at folks over there. He just talks about the science. But apparently you folks hate that and aren't interested in that at all. You'd rather come over here and listen to me call someone a fuck trumpet, apparently. Anyway, there is another channel. There it is, right there. You can go and find it later and subscribe to it if you like actual science and no swearing and collars and ties. I own many collars and ties, personally. I think I look quite smart in them, but Ted says I look like a dweeb. So I don't know. Who do we believe? Who's credible? Who knows? Let's find out. Gil will tell us who's credible, won't you, Gil? Off you go.
Easy.
You
don't.
Good, it's easy. I'm glad it's easy. Gil thinks it's easy to work out who's wrong and who's right. Let's hear how.
Science isn't based on trust.
No.
It's based on confirmation.
Or confirmation bias. Right.
As we say in nerd speak, reproducibility.
Reproducibility. Reproducibility of what, Gil? What needs to be reproducible? Because I think you need to give people the full information about what it is that needs to be reproducible before we can take it seriously as an indication of cause or effect, before we can take it seriously as an epistemology of knowing things, that is, rather than speculating about things. It would be repeatability of properly designed, properly powered, properly tenured, properly observed, properly disciplined, interventional research studies on an appropriate target audience over an appropriate period of time or tenure. I know that's a gobful, but we probably do need to actually delimit the statement, because reproducibility does not confer veracity. I could reproduce the same thing again and again and again, and I do, because buffoons like you reproduce the same errors again and again and again and again, and it doesn't matter how many million times I tell you folks, A, not to exaggerate, and B, not to make those errors online. You keep doing it, so I keep correcting it. I might be wrong. Spoiler, I'm not. But I could be, couldn't I? And I could just keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Would that make it true? That would be a reproducible statement that I would make, a predictable, reproducible result. You say cholesterol causes heart disease. I say, no, Gil, no, it doesn't. Who's right? Well, it's me. Of course it's me, because I'm the science and I'm safe and effective, and you should always trust the science and never question the science, of course. I think I've made my point.
Of course, this is completely understandable. We don't have the time to go read 100 studies every time we got to make a decision.
Well, why not?
So we look for somebody who's going to give us the...
And do we think 100 studies will give us the answer? And if we do, why are we so misguided, Gil? Because it won't. I promise you that, in terms of human health outcomes, nutritional studies, so-called, most of the drug interventions. You won't find the answer in the literature, no matter how many 100 you read, because they're all bought and paid for. They're all theology. It's all nonsense, claptrap, anti-scientific, misanthropy, really, is what it is.
Answers. Somebody we can trust. Probably.
Yes, someone you can trust. Well, that's me, because I said so. Safe and effective, trustworthy. I'm the science. Never question the science. There we go. That's who you trust. You trust me, and not Gil Carvalho. Thank you for joining me. Join me next week when someone else will be wrong on interwebs. Oh, all right. Since you started, we'll let him finish.
Is if I don't know much about a topic.
Good, Gil. Well, that's the thing. That's the problem with you, isn't it, son? You seem to think you know a lot about a topic that you really, absolutely, demonstrably do not. That being the conduct of science, the epistemology of science, the disciplines of science, the capacities or lack thereof of science in various different fields, common sense, a knowledge of your place in the hierarchy. That's a word I think you're going to use later in this video, I would suggest, the hierarchy. Can't wait for that. It's going to be great. Stick around till the end, or else you'll miss it. And you don't want to miss things, do you? You don't want to miss me being safe and effective, trustworthy and believable. Simon Hill doesn't think I'm trustworthy or believable or credible. And Simon Hill, who has absolutely no experience whatsoever in conducting science, being a part of science in any way, shape or form, and who has shown the high-class intellect and good judgment to profess himself to be a vegan, absolutely. I'd take that as a compliment, Simon, that you don't find me credible. I don't find you possessed of much testicular fortitude, frankly. I think you're a coward, son. I think you should front up to me for a debate, Simon Hill, and we'll deal with it. Politely, if you want. And with full pseudo-respect, because actually a person gets from me the exact level of respect that they deserve, and most commentators online don't deserve much, frankly. Okay? But we'll deal with Simon later, because I know he's going to come up in this. Simon is a friend of Gil's, so, you know, if you ever wanted any further indication that Gil Carvalho was neither trustworthy nor of good, upstanding moral character in any way, shape or form, there it is. Anyway, tell us about this, though, Gil.
Then I don't know enough to know who's right and who's wrong.
That's right, Gil, you don't. You don't know dick about fuck. So you should shut up, frankly, about human health, human nutrition, science, and its conduct, epistemologies of, etc. Okay?
If I know enough to fact check the experts, I don't need an expert. But
Yeah, you don't, though. You don't. You do need an expert, and that's me, Gil. And I'm quite happy to give you that expertise in a face-to-face discussion with you, son. Perhaps you'd like to come in, because Simon doesn't have the gear for it. Perhaps you do. Although it doesn't sound like it, does it? And I've sort of suggested that a number of times in videos about you in the past, and no, you see, if you acknowledge my existence, then you actually have to front up to the fact that a debate with me would end up with you having 7 more orify than you currently have. It's the same technique that's used by all sorts of loud, arrogant, but ultimately not very brave individuals, really. Like Lame Norton. He won't front up. He might have to front up when I've finished making the video about his PhD dissertation, though. You're going to love this, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and super intelligent shades of the colour sky blue pink. You're going to love this one. I'm currently making that video, and, you know, it's in progress, so just hold on to your hats. It's coming. All sorts of other characters, like Paul Sullard, I don't know who Bart Kay is. Claims to not know who I am, despite having made several videos with me, collaboratively, a few years ago before he lost his shit completely. Very, very brave. Very, very, obviously very brave. Richard Burgess avoided me for 5 years. Do you know what finally got Richard Burgess to the table? Got him to actually come and have a debate with me? All I had to do was call him a tubby. And he got so enraged that he was going to come on and teach me a lesson. How did that turn out for you, Richard? You fucking idiot. My word, my word. Anyways, it's not all about me. It's all about Gil and his ultimate knowledge of how to avoid the confusion. Let's hear it.
I need an expert because I don't know enough. That I don't know enough to know who's an expert.
Yeah, right. You say you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. It's called Dunning-Kruger, Gil Carvalho, and it drips from every one of your rancid, stinking pores. You don't know what you don't know what you don't know. You are destitute of a comprehension of your own lack of competence to speak on any of the topics that you find yourself competent to speak on, like nutrition. It's amazing.
So we all do the same thing.
Oh, we all do the same thing, do we? No, we don't. No, we don't. Not at all.
We use shortcuts, like the vibe we get from the person, or professional titles.
Ah, professional titles. Well, Gil, you've got some of those, haven't you? And yet you don't have the first clue of what you're talking about. That's exactly what I was referring to earlier. Super chat via PayPal. Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate that. That way, YouTube doesn't get 30% of it. It all goes to PayPal, and I get to keep the vast majority of it. So I appreciate that, Dave, very much. 100 Kanukistanian loonies. Good. Yes. Canadastan. For the farm. Yes, for the farm, not for Ted. Ted doesn't get it, because you said so. Yes. Good. Won't share it with YouTubes. Good on you. Appreciate that. Who is funding Gil? Who is funding Gil? Well, he makes videos defending the establishment positions regularly. Well, that's who's funding him then, isn't it? I would suggest. If you hear power tools in the background, I have commissioned great works around the Pimbatian Palace. My manservant is doing great works. And possibly he may well also have annexed the assistance of my nephew, who's also here. hopefully great things are afoot in Pimbatia. Anyway, so just ignore that. And pay attention here to me, because I'm the science and I'm safe and effective, remember? Right, good. Not very late. Not very late, so Ted won't punish me. Oh, Ted will punish you. Yes, he will. See, Ted's a bit of a masochist, and he's always looking for new victims. A new victim will be arriving here sometime this week, apparently. We know she's in the country. We don't know where in the country she is at the moment. She's moving mysteriously, so she is, but she'll be here, and you'll all find out about it next week. Watch the space. I'm excited. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Yes, you're a subscriber. Hello, Mark. Mark the Legend is in the house. Love it. Good to see you. Snacksy Man is here. Very good to see the Snacksy Man. An actual super chat. Well, make your mind up, Dave. Are you going to share with YouTubes or not? Yes. Very good. Sent via PayPal. Yes. So you're paying two Canadian Stan loonies to tell us that you've paid some other loonies. Like it. It's hilarious, yes. You hope I'll fix up a live debate with the Banana Girl and the Banana Boy. I doubt that'll happen. I'm not sure he sounds like Fozzie Bear, but he definitely does sound like a Muppet. I'll give you that. Right, anyway, Gil, make some progress.
Or how popular they seem. But
good, yes. That's how we make a decision on who's worth listening to, how popular they are. Of course. My mistake.
greatly overestimate how good our judgment really is.
Yes, well, we know how good your judgment is, Gil. You have friends like Simon Hill. And you say things like, ApoB causes heart disease. And statins might be an okay idea. And stuff. You also claim to know stuff about nutrition, even though you don't have any training in that field whatsoever. None at all, let alone any publications in that field, or in fact any other field, Gil Carvalho, that I'm aware of. Happy to be corrected if you do have one or two publications on some field or another, but I don't think you do some. I know Simon Hill doesn't have any. So why he would sit there and refuse to have a debate with me because I'm not credible, despite having, well, an infinitely larger number of publications than Simon Hill does, the very thing that he says is what we should base our arguments on, publications. Well, I've got some, Simon, and you don't. So how is it that you're credible and I'm not? By that logic. Somebody explain it to me, I'm confused. I wish I wasn't so easily confused. Yeah.
Research has shown our brain
Well, research has shown. It must be true then. Has it though? Has research shown what you're about to claim it shows?
makes snap judgments that subconsciously guide our decisions. Would you trust this man?
No, that's not a man. That's a picture.
How about this one?
No, that's also an image.
Or this one?
They're all images, aren't they? You can't trust images. Images tell lies. I know, because I've spent my morning looking at Instagram.
These faces might look similar, but psychologists found subjects responded differently, implicitly trusting the picture on the right the most.
So?
This effect was so strong that even after telling the volunteers about a history of untrustworthy
So Gil has some publications? What are they in? What field? What are they? Are they any good? I don't know. I'm glad he's got some publications, but he certainly isn't like a world-shattering, earth-shattering scientist by any stretch. I'm not suggesting I am either, but I'm saying, well, I do have, a goodly number of them. I would suggest more than Gil has, probably. Anyway.
worthiness for that individual.
Not that publications are necessarily much more of a gauge on one's veracity than bits of paper either, because, well, I myself have been a peer reviewer for others' publications for multiple different journals over multiple decades, and I can tell you exactly how poor the peer review system is, having been involved in it myself right up to my armpits. Not only have I been involved in it myself, I've seen how others have conducted their peer reviews of others' works. Whew. Anyway, that's for another day.
Facial features still influenced how much they trusted him. We also tend to trust people who just look like others who were reliable in the past. And vice versa. We tend to mistrust people who look like others who screwed us over. Psychologists have shown we even trust people more if they look like us. Maybe
I wouldn't trust anyone that looks like me.
this was advantageous to our ancestors, People who look like me are more likely to be my relatives. So if my entire world is a trust,
I'd trust somebody that says things that are sensible, full of veracity and utility in the real objective reality in which we find ourselves. I'd trust people who say things that are sensible and based in common sense and a decent appreciation of the epistemologies of science and other fields of endeavour. A generalist. I wouldn't trust or distrust anybody on the basis of what they look like, personally. It's that old judging a book by its cover thing, isn't it?
of 100 people, this might help a bit. But nowadays, interacting with thousands of people on the internet.
This is your brain when you're struggling to
No, it
focus.
isn't. No.
And this is your brain when you're in the zone.
No, it isn't.
But
still.
getting in the...
No, rubbish.
This is a disaster waiting to happen. Credentials and degrees, those are really tricky too. Just spend 5 minutes on the internet. You'll find a bunch of MDs saying the exact opposite on a factual claim.
Right. A factual claim in a field that nobody on either side of that divide is qualified to comment on as an MD. Nutrition. Because MDs aren't trained in nutrition, Gil. At all.
So somebody's got to be wrong, which means the title is no guarantee of anything. And needless
That's right, it's not.
to say, going by personality, likability, charm, who seems honest, who says it like it is, massive pitfalls.
Are they? Unless, of course, that the person that does say things in a way that maybe is difficult for you to swallow, the way they conduct themselves might be a bit abrasive to you, for example. Does that mean they're wrong? Or right? The judge of whether they're wrong or right should be whether they're wrong or right demonstrably. Or at least whether what they've said is unassailable. No? Okay.
It can be 100% sincere and 100% wrong.
That's right, Gil. I don't think you're insincere. I think you're an absolute buffoon. I think you're a childlike cretin. I think you're a Dunning-Kruger sufferer of the highest order. But I don't think you're insincere. You're just as dumb as fuck.
Basically, the trick is to focus less on the individuals and more on the concepts or the ideas.
Right. That's the first sensible thing I've ever heard you say, Gil. Judge a person's worthwhileness, if is that a word, in science by what they say about science. Not by what credentials they hold, not by how many publications they've got, not by anything else. Judge what they say on its own merits. In which case, Gil, I'm unassailable. Why? Because I make sure I'm unassailable before I open my mouth. Okay?
Less on the who, more on the what. This is
Yes, Gil. Great. Awesome.
very unnatural to us because our brains want to do the exact opposite. So we're going to give you a framework. We're going to look
Good a framework. 3 steps, is it, Gil?
at 3 major red flags.
Right. 3 major red flags, according to Gil Carvalho. Let's hear what they are.
3 A's to avoid. And after that, we're going to look at 3 tips that actually do work to distinguish reliable sources. The 3 B's. B for positive. And yes, these rules apply to me as well, of
Right.
course.
Well, let's apply
and you
them.
should hold me and everybody else to the same criteria.
Yes.
Okay, so here are the red flags, the 3 A's. First A is an over-reliance on anecdotes.
How much is an over-reliance on anecdotes? Who's to say how much is an over-reliance on anecdotes? And in the case where no data exists that can support a proposition or otherwise, so long as you caveat the statement with, well, look, there is no data to underpin an answer to this question, however, here are some anecdotes, why would that be a red flag, so long as you caveat it as such and make it clear that you are giving anecdotes? And why is it that every time I pause this buffoon on his videos, time and time again, he's always pulling some ridiculous face? Is it because he never stops pulling ridiculous faces? That's a complete aside. It's just an anecdote. No actual data, just an anecdote, though. I wonder how Michelle is. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I don't give a fuck.
We're wired to connect with anecdotes. They just resonate with us.
It's almost like shared experiences are worthwhile in some way, especially considering information regarding the experiences of others when there is no scientific empirical data set that we can hang our hats on.
Paragraphs and p-values, not so much. But anecdotes are notoriously unreliable.
As is the so-called science, Gil Carvalho. The level to which the so-called science regarding human health outcomes and nutrition, for example, are not only as unreliable as anecdotes, they are in fact themselves anecdotes. They are not scientifically, rigorously collected data sets. They often are corrected, which makes them anti-scientific in the extreme, as it turns out. As soon as you correct data, you're fabricating. That's not what scientists do. Scientists report what they observed, not what they think they might have observed had they bothered to exert controls that they didn't bother to exert, because ethics don't allow them to exert those controls. See how that works? No? Okay.
They involve many variables. There's placebo effect. There's the lack of a control group. You name it.
It's the same thing you'll find in epidemiology studies, Gil. You seem to think they're okay, though. So I'm confused again. I wish I wasn't so easily confused.
A mess. So you want to be careful with arguments that rely heavily on anecdotes.
Right, well, how heavily is heavily? And once again, why is it that you're pulling a stupid face? I'm not trying to do this on purpose. I promise I'm not, kiddies. I mean, I've made videos about Gil Carvalho, I don't know, a dozen times at least in the last few years. Go back and watch all of them, every single one of them. A, because you'll learn some new and important swear words, and B, because you'll see more silly faces pulled by Gil Carvalho every time I pause them, no matter when it was, than you could possibly hope to see in your average Rowan Atkinson movie starring Rowan Atkinson playing every single character.
And nobody's immune to it. We actually released a video on salt recently.
Right, so are you going to give us an anecdote? Oh, fuck! Give us your anecdote. Go on. Oh, fuck! Oh, I love it.
And I talked about a salt substitute, and I showed some studies
That's a great story. Almost like an anecdote.
showing effectiveness. And then I mentioned that I got the same salt substitute, and my blood pressure went down, and some family members. And an attentive viewer wrote in, and he said, that was an anecdote in the...
Oh, God. Goal from whoever did that. Yes, Gil, you're a twit, aren't you? Absolute twit.
middle of that video. And I thought about it, I looked at it, and you know what? He's right. So we went back, we deleted that.
Gil, why don't you look at all my videos that I've ever made about you, about a dozen of them, where I've corrected you I don't know how many times on nonsensical garbage that you've put in videos, and edit out every single one of those as well. Because I'm right as well. You might not like me, you might find me abrasive and rude and abusive. That's just an act I play to get clicks. But who gives a shit? That's not the point. The point is I'm right. In which case, you should go back through all your videos. And, well, probably the simplest thing you could do, Gil, rather than try and edit out the errors, because they are so widespread, so continuous, so without let or hindrance, what you really ought to just do is close down your stupid, ridiculous fucking channel entirely and stop pretending you know the first damn thing about nutrition or science or common sense. And you should probably also choose your friends more wisely, but that's for another day.
We deleted that segment where I made that statement. So if you go watch the version of the
Right, so you delete statements on the basis that you're called up on an error. Well, go and look at my videos on you, Gil, and then delete all your videos, because, wow.
video that's live, that sentence is now gone. Not that it's the end of the world to mention an anecdote, as long as we're not basing a scientific argument on it.
Well, you just did. You just said, anecdotes are no good, and here's an anecdote as to why anecdotes are no good. Oh, fuck. Oh.
And especially if we mention the limitations, right? But I thought the viewer made a valid point, and I thought the video was probably stronger without that remark. And also, if we're criticizing and trying to set the bar high, we got to be ready to take some criticism as well and walk
well, I've got some for you, Gil. Plenty.
the walk. So that got cut. I just realized that whole story was basically an anecdote. So I read.
You gonna cut that too?
Ragged on anecdotes by using an anecdote. Yep, we're doomed. Okay.
Yes, you're also a fucking imbecile. Oh, God. You could, alternatively, Gil, you could make this more difficult for me to rag on you. You could make it harder. You could make it some kind of a challenge. No, okay.
The second A stands for antagonism.
Right.
We've
Well, what's wrong with that? Gets views, it gets clicks.
all seen different online communities or people sometimes whose entire worldview is us versus them.
Okay, well, let's use another anecdote, because you're big on those, Gil, clearly. There's another area of interwebs on the YouTubes that seems to be a popular topic for antagonism. That being the flat earthers versus the sensible people. One of those groups of people, the sensible ones, are correct, demonstrably, absolutely, irrefutably correct, and the flat earthers are fucking idiots. So, me engaging in that antagonism, calling the flat earthers fucking idiots, because that's what they are, does that make me wrong? Or am I still demonstrably, absolutely, unequivocally correct that the earth is not flat? So why would that be a red flag? So your first red flag was anecdotes, which you absolutely proved to be yourself to be correct on by using an anecdote, and then suddenly realised that you'd been giving us an anecdote, but you still haven't deleted that. And now you're telling us that antagonism is a red flag, even though it isn't. Have you got anything?
Our diet A, is perfect, and those guys over there with diet B are all a bunch of morons.
Right. Well, that's what's going on here. Our diet, the species-appropriate, species-specific diet for Homo sapiens sapiens, i.e. hypercarnivore, is unequivocally, when you apply common sense and the hard sciences such that they exist, which you won't find in the ring-fenced area of ideology called human nutrition studies, by the way, when you look at the actual science, you will, there's no other possible conclusion. You have to agree that human beings are absolutely evolved as obligate hyper-carnivores. We are right, and the vegans are wrong, as are the people who say we're omnivores and that the standard diet is the appropriate way for a human to fuel themselves, because it's not. They are wrong. And it's absolutely right and indicated that we should have some antagonism. Well, that keeps the interest in the thing, doesn't it? So what's your point, Gil, other than you don't have a point? You're a pointless sack of shit. You're an offensive sack of shit. With your moral high ground and I'm so much better than everybody else because I'm so much down the middle of the road and I don't get involved in antagonism. Get involved, son. Pick a side, and it's not the right side if you're picking the side that Simon Hill's on, I can promise you. All right, what's next?
And the third A stands for anger.
All right, well, there you go. So of your list of 3 red flags as to how to avoid confusion, not one of them is valid. Because if I'm angry with the flat earthers about them telling me the earth is flat, does that make me wrong? If I'm angry with the vegans for saying, not only am I wrong that carnivore is the right diet for a human being, but every human being on this planet should also go vegan, why shouldn't I be angry about that? Not really, Bruce. Not really. Once you've got your head screwed on, it's pretty straightforward. Perhaps you should binge watch my channel if you haven't already. It is quite simple, really. Gil doesn't have the first clue about it, though. Do I consume what? Fermented dairy like kefir, yogurt, or cheese? Yes, I do. Right, what's next?
We want to avoid coming at this from a place of frustration. Crystal.
Why shouldn't we be frustrated with buffoons like you? There it is again with the, I really, honestly, am not trying to do this. It's incredible, isn't it? Right. Why should we not approach this argument from a place of frustration? Why should we not be frustrated with buffoons like you, Gil, who have absolutely not the first clue of what he's talking about in a field that you are positioning yourself in as some kind of expert that we should take seriously? Why wouldn't that frustrate us? I wonder. I wonder. Who put that there? Ah. Anyway.
In this very common idea of that they lied to us. They
did. And they continue to. And yes, that's frustrating. And yes, that makes me angry. Why shouldn't I express that? And when I do express my frustration and my anger with this ridiculous nonsense, does that make me wrong? No, it doesn't. I'm still right. I'm still unassailable, again, because I still make sure I am before I open my mouth. Still.
being sometimes the government, sometimes scientific establishment, sometimes the status quo, etc. So the antagonism, fighting everybody who has a different opinion, and the anger, this is not...
Ted will fight you. Won't you, Ted?
Yes, I'll fight this retard. He's such a retard. I want to fight him. Come on, Gil. Come on. What have you got? Hey, ha ha ha. Smash you.
Ted, go and do something useful. Twiddle the knobs, for goodness sake. Goodness miss. Right, so yes, strike one, strike two, and strike three. Swing and a big miss. Swing and a big miss. Yes, good. We still love you though, Bruce. There's nothing you can do about it. Gil.
A good headspace to look at things objectively and just try to figure stuff out.
So fuck around and find out, is that what you're saying? That's not a great approach.
It more likely warps our perspective and blinds us. Now, we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We all have our moments.
Ted doesn't. I won't have that. Ted is perfect in every way. How dare you?
It's a weakness. So the idea here is not to point
Okay,
fingers.
how to distinguish strong scientific arguments. This will be good, considering that your red flags were all completely useless, flaccid, vacuous, and wrong. And there it is again. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely unbelievable.
But you're looking for a pattern, right? A pattern of calm and objectivity.
No, I'm looking for correctness, veracity, robustness, unassailability of arguments.
And curiosity, or a pattern of antagonism and anger and frustration.
They are not mutually exclusive, you stupid boy. You absolute fucking buffoon. You mindless cunt.
At another group or groups. And on that note, let's keep it positive and look at the 3 Ps.
All right, the 3 Ps. I used to do quite a bit of volunteer work for the St John Ambulance Association as a much younger man. I was actually a New Zealand representative, for what that's worth. We had 3 Ps in that field of endeavour too. It was patch up, pack up, and piss off. I don't think that's what Gil means, though. I think Gil means something else. Let's hear it, Gil.
And I should mention, I came up with this jointly with Simon Hill.
There you go, see? A bloke that calls himself the proof, despite never providing any proof of anything. A bloke who deifies published literature as if that's some kind of inviolate canon. A bloke who doesn't find me credible, despite having vastly fewer of those publications than I personally have, Simon. A bloke who seems to revere qualifications, which I have in spades, Simon. Positions of authority, which I have as well, Simon. A bloke who wants to arrogantly sit there and tell us that veganism is the way, which it isn't, Simon, by the way, at all, demonstrably, clearly and unequivocally. A bloke who no one should take remotely seriously. A bloke with, as far as I'm aware, not one peer-reviewed publication in his name. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't think I am. Yeah. All right, let's hear all about the 3 Ps put together in conjunction with this absolute buffoon here, Simon Hill.
From the Proof podcast, and we actually broke this down in more detail in a recent episode that I was on with him, and I'll link that below, but this is the gist.
Yeah, right.
This is
The gist.
1 or 2 minute summary.
Let's
Just
have
the
it.
juice.
Let's have it.
First P stands for proof.
Right, well, there you go. See, well, Simon Hill's never provided any of that of anything. And in fact, you're going to be hard-pressed to find proof of anything regarding human health outcomes and human nutrition because, Gil, there is no empirical evidence extant anywhere in the literature which can point us in that direction in terms of cause and effect. There are no experimental studies on human beings that have been undertaken. Ethics committees tend to be pretty well against that, and rightly so. So there goes that one. So now you've only got 2 P's left that we can hang our hats on. Let's hope the second 2 P's are better than your first P.
The burden of proof lies with the person making the claims.
Right. Fine. No proof is available for anyone to proffer up. So,
Now, this seems obvious. It's almost like a duh, right? But you'd be surprised. I get messages all the time from people who say, I'm really confused by this blog or this podcast. And it turns out it's just a bunch of claims with zero evidence. You
much like what you do, Gil.
don't need to be confused by just claims. There's something called Hitchens' razor, named after the writer Christopher Hitchens. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Sure. I do that all the time. Because there is no evidence extant. So anyone that says this causes that, no. Anyone that says risk hazard, no. Sorry. I do it all the time. It's unassailable. And people often throw at me, oh, you never provide any evidence. That's my whole point. It does not fucking exist still. One way or the other. What does back us up, those of us that understand human nutrition, is common sense, some pretty good anecdote skill, and some actual hard science outside of this ring-fenced area of human nutrition so-called science, like the anthropology. The nitrogen isotope testing is a great place to start. If you like to, get some actual hard science, it's good stuff.
So if it's unaccompanied by evidence, yeah, you can just move on.
Right, good. So we can just ignore you then, Gil.
This rules out 90% of internet confusion.
99.99 probably.
I saw this really interesting comment the other day.
Are you going to give us an anecdote? We don't want to hear any anecdotes, Gil.
By one of the viewers, one of you guys. He said, hey, really interesting videos, really thought-provoking.
This sounds a lot like an anecdote, doesn't it? Red flag. We can ignore this clown now.
But I'm not sure, because you guys keep saying stuff that doesn't really match what the other YouTubers are saying. Yeah, that's the whole reason we make these videos. The whole reason I started making these 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was
because you wanted to make some money. And or you have a theological standpoint on human nutrition which is not backed by evidence or knowledge in the field or basic common sense skill. And perhaps you're also completely pig ignorant of the actual hard sciences like, well, for example, the nitrogen isotope testing, perhaps.
was that you look at systematically at the scientific evidence and you see
Yes, which is what I do as an actual scientist that's got a long history of actually publishing a large number of articles over multiple decades in more than one name. Okay, so if you just look for BK, you'll find some of my publications, yes. You won't find the rest, and that's the way I like it.
one thing, and then you look at the internet and you see wild claims. Sometimes it's the exact
Yes, like Gil Carvalho is remotely credible. That's a wild claim, isn't it?
opposite.
Or Simon Hill knows what he's talking about and provides the proof just because he cites literature which he doesn't understand in the first place.
Point is, worry less about what people say and worry more about the evidence they show.
Right,
Yep.
good. Well, show us some evidence for some of the claims you've made, Gil. So we wait for that. It just seems to me like you're eviscerating yourself, son. You're not even making this hard for me.
Us, including me. Okay.
Yes, including you. So where's your proof, son?
Second P stands for preponderance.
Ah, preponderance. So appeal to consensus fallacy is what we're going to get next, is it? Can't wait for this. Go on.
Strong scientific arguments are based on a body of evidence.
Right. No, Gil. See, that's the thing about science. Science is a positivistic, empirical, interventional means and epistemology of how we know things. Any one paper provides a 1, the hypothesis is accepted, or a 0, the hypothesis is rejected. So any paper that proves its point stands alone. It needs no corroboration, none at all. So long as it's repeatable, meaning somebody else can do the exact same thing and get the exact same or acceptably similar result, because there'll be a standard error of the mean or whatever statistic is being used in that study. A pile of shit, Gil, is not of higher quality if there are more smaller amounts of shit added to the pile. It's still a pile of shit, isn't it? So we're still no further ahead. You've given us 3 red flags beginning with A, none of which are valid, robust, or of any utility whatsoever in determining who's credible and who isn't credible. And now you've given us 2 out of 3 Ps, which you are claiming are ways that we can identify a strong scientific argument, neither of which are useful, correct, robust, or even applicable in any way. And this is a very good point here, Snacksy Man. This is a very good point. The responsibility of a scientist is to set up a hypothesis and then design a test of that hypothesis that is capable of unequivocally disproving the hypothesis profit. That is the responsibility of a science. They are supposed to prove themselves wrong. We're not here to prove anything. We're here to disprove things. We're here to dismiss arguments that are incorrect, which is indeed the much easier task than proving something is correct, as you say. To our highest leader, is that me or is that Ted? Is there any willingness on your part to comment on or break down the Sean Baker versus Dr. Cruz dust-up? Yes, I'm quite happy to. Jack Cruz has lost his mind entirely. He's not an unintelligent man. He's a very intelligent man. What he is lacking in is any self-awareness whatsoever, clearly. He thinks himself to be credible in the field of quantum biology when someone like myself who has a cursory understanding of that field can identify without too much difficulty that at least 50% of what Jack Cruz has to say is false, demonstrably false, concepts applied in the wrong way, fallaciously, if you like. A man who is obese, corpulent, and clearly not a specimen of physical health, taking shots at Sean Baker, saying Sean Baker doesn't know what he's talking about, when it's quite clear that, for the most part, to most things of any importance regarding one's health, I would trust Sean Baker any day of the week over Jack Cruz. They are both people I've met, Jack and Sean. They're both people I've done collaborative videos with, Jack and Sean. They're both people I respect to the exact level that they deserve respect from me, both of them. Neither one of them is perfect. They both have flaws, in my not so very humble estimation. They both make mistakes. Like, I think Sean should pick his friends more carefully. But that's for another day. Or people that he looks up to scientifically, I should say, not his friends. It's got nothing to do with friendship. His support, for example, for that research group, headed up by a software engineer with 2 very young, very inexperienced, very, very foolish young researchers, and a senior author that couldn't give a shit, to the point where he didn't even read the fucking paper before it was fucking published. Clearly. Not a good look, Sean, at all. But as far as this particular dust-up goes, I'm right behind Sean Baker, 100%. Never in a purple fit, under any circumstances, is light more important than diet in terms of the hierarchy of needs for health. Not in a million years, Jack. Wrong. A contribution for commenting. Thank you. You're very welcome. Very welcome indeed. Right, so proof? No, there isn't any. So we can't lean on that in terms of anything said about health outcomes as it relates to any aspect of human nutrition, because there is none extant anywhere on the planet, so forget that one. Preponderance? No, well, that's just appeal to consensus fallacy, Gil. That's false, so that's no good. The 3 red flags you gave were all fucking ridiculous. Not one of them was able to point to someone who's incredible, or lacking in credibility, if you like that term better. Let's hope your last P gets us somewhere, because so far, 5 swings and 5 misses. It'll be a double strikeout if it's 6 in a row, and I suspect it's going to be. Let's have it.
As opposed to isolated studies. We've all heard this type of argument. There's a study for every idea out there. They have theirs over there, and I have my own studies that support my view.
Right, so selection bias, fine, yep.
This is social media bickering, right, tussling, but a serious scientific approach looks at all available evidence, and it's
Which is none in terms of cause and effect heart health outcomes as it relates to any aspect of human nutrition. None at all, Gil. We're done. So that's why, this is exactly why this argument continues, Gil, backwards and forwards. If there was a clear answer, then there'd be a clear answer. There would be nothing to argue. And one party or the other would then be deemed quite sensibly as the flat earthers of the nutrition field. Because in that field, one of the sides of the argument has all the science, all the observations, all the anecdotes, everything behind it. They are correct, demonstrably, unequivocally, and the flat earthers are fucking idiots. The people who think the carnivore diet is not appropriate for a human being, or even worse, that the vegan diet is appropriate for a human being, they are the flat earthers. But we don't have that evidence to the level that we have the evidence for the shape of our planet. And as such, the argument continues. Whereas we don't even argue with flat earthers anymore. We just deride them because you just can't have a conversation with these people. They're theologians. Sound familiar?
strives for a model that reconciles everything.
Right, good. So when you have no evidence whatsoever, what use is a model that reconciles the pile of nothing whatsoever that we have available upon which to build such a model? In terms of cause and effect, eat this and this is what you'll get.
So if I want to figure things out,
Aotearoa, New Zealand,
Aotearoa, New
home to
Zealand.
half the world's whale species. But these gentle giants are
I look at the full picture.
By the way, there's no such place as Aotearoa, New Zealand.
But if I just want to prove my point that the picture is red, then I just focus on the corner I like. And finally, the 3P stands for pyramid. Pyramid.
Oh my God. The hierarchy of evidence, though. Well, that's a swing and a miss, so that's a double strikeout, Gil. 6 out of 6. Wrong, vacuous, fallacious, destitute of even common sense, let alone a decent grasp of the epistemology of science and its disciplines. Just absolutely laughable. Let's have it, though.
Refers to the hierarchy of evidence.
Right. So whose hierarchy are we talking about, Gil? Because do you know how many different versions of this thing exist? I've seen about 20 or 30 different versions of this thing with different things at different levels on it. You know what the other thing I've noticed about the different levels on this thing is? Let's say we're looking at the thing on that second tier down there, as opposed to things that are on the third level down, depending on which version of the hierarchy you're looking at, that is. How much better is the second level than the third level? What is the empirical data set underpinning this? How much better is that? Because science is litigated empirically, isn't it? With numbers, that means. If there's no experimental, interventional gauge on how much better level 3 is than level 4 or level 2 is than level 3, then what we have here is an opinion, isn't it? Where do opinions usually fall on the hierarchy of evidence? They're usually down the bottom, aren't they? This thing debunks itself. Well done, Gil. Good work, son. So you've given us some anecdotes, about how bad anecdotes are. You've told us don't listen to people who are angry. You've told us don't listen to people who are antagonistic because they're not credible, all of which is incorrect, stupid, ridiculous, worthless noise. And then you've given us 3 things that you think provide for a strong argument, i.e. proof, which doesn't exist in the field of human nutrition in terms of heart health outcomes whatsoever. Preponderance, i.e. appeal to consensus fallacy, which, well, it's called a fallacy for a reason, pretty much, Gil. And now you're giving us a pyramid, the proposed hierarchy of evidence which debunks itself because it's an opinion and not an empirically gauged anything on anything. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
All evidence is not created equal. So
That's right. But who's to say how much better one form of evidence is from another?
I want to watch out for claims based on mouse data or...
Did you hear that, Lame Norton? Did you hear that, Nicholas the nut-nibbling Norwitz with his nonsensical numbskullery? My studies. Did you hear that? Yes, by the way, for those that missed it earlier, I am doing a video critique of Lame Norton's PhD dissertation, by the way, not even a thesis, dissertation. So he's another one that's got a PhD by doing some coursework and done a little dissertation with a little study in it, which he then claims makes him an expert in human nutrition, even though the study he did was on mice, and mouses. Well, rats, actually, but whatever. Ratus. Good one, Lame. It will be the same Lane Norton that said the first law of thermodynamics indicates that mass is conserved. No, it isn't. The first law of thermodynamics is actually a case-limited example of the law of conservation of energy, which, by the way, is also incorrect. But that's for another day. I don't want to lose too many friends all at once. I've already had quite a clear go at the flat earthers, I think. If you are a flat earther here and you really genuinely believe the earth is flat, you are too stupid to be here. You are deleterious to the average IQ of this audience and you need to fuck right off. Okay? And if you think Gil Carvalho is remotely credible, same thing. You need to fuck right off because you're obviously an imbecile, as I've made quite clear in this little video, I think, quite reasonably. But yes, I do agree on that. Mices and mices and mouses, no good for extrapolating to what happens in humans. Good.
Or a tribe somewhere in the Amazon, what's called ecological data.
It's about the same, isn't it, really? Any study can only be extrapolated with caution to an identical population to the study population. So if the study population is not representative of all people, then you have to delimit it. You can't extrapolate it to all people. And if it was representative of all people and could be extrapolated to all people, could you then apply that to yourself? Because are you all people or are you one person whose individual makeup is different from all people? Just the facts again, sorry about those.
Are the weakest forms of evidence, the lowest rungs of the pyramid.
See how he hasn't put opinion there? Because usually opinion shows up on various versions of this. Because again, there are, as I say, 20 or 30 different versions of this thing I've seen. Opinion is at the bottom. And this thing is an opinion. Incredible. By which I mean lacking in credibility. Just like Gil Carvalho and his mate Simon Hill.
Mouse data is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
It doesn't tell us what happens in humans.
Right.
What about looking at a specific population? That's humans. Why is that weak data?
Well,
Let me give you an example.
I've just explained that.
People ask me this all the time. Hey, in Japan, they eat this food a lot.
Well, how do you know? Were you there? I was watching a video the other day of someone talking about what goes on in Japan and he had it wrong. Making statements of fact about what they do in Japan, having clearly never been to Japan himself.
And they're pretty healthy over there.
Again, are they? According to whom? On the basis of what?
Doesn't that prove that that food is good
No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. There are other degrees of freedom, many of them.
or bad in some other examples? France has a very high rate of smoking. Over a third of French people smoke.
Do they?
And yet it has one of the highest life expectancies in the world. When we look at a country on the opposite end of the spectrum, in Nigeria, less than 5% of people smoke. And yet, it has one of the worst life expectancies in the world.
Ah, there you go. Smoke them if you got them.
When we put it like that, every single one of you can immediately see through that argument.
Right, because we're not stupid, Gil. You are, though. Because you've just given us 6 factors to watch out for in terms of cutting through the confusion, and all 6 are vacuous, fallacious, useless, pathetic, desperate cope. Presented very, very poorly while you're at it. Not to mention bagging anecdotes, using an anecdote to bag anecdotes. Fuck me.
Right? It doesn't mean that smoking makes you live longer. It means that these cross-country comparisons involve thousands of moving pieces, of confounders, right?
And so do studies within any one given population. Degrees of freedom differ between individuals, whether they live on the same continent or not, Gil. Still applies.
Genetic differences to culture, to quality of healthcare, to overall quality of life in that country. This is why you want to focus on the upper rungs of the pyramid. Evidence in humans, well-designed, reasonably matched groups, and where you make an effort to isolate a variable.
Okay, well, show me a study that does that, Gil. They don't exist, buffoon. That's my whole point. Still unassailable.
Either by randomizing the participants,
which is never done correctly,
or by adjusting for the differences.
No, you can't adjust after the fact and propose you're doing science. You're fucking not. That is fabrication. Scientists report what they observed under control, imposed before data collection. Multivariate regression is entirely inappropriate fabrication of results. It's academic misconduct of the highest order. One of us, Gil, is an expert in pure and applied statistical inference, by the way. One of us.
That means well-designed cohort studies.
Show me one. Any at all. Well-designed cohort studies. Fuck me, seriously?
Randomized clinical trials.
Again, show me one where the randomization has been adequate, the controls have been adequate, the tenure is adequate, the statistical powering is adequate. The population are genetically identical sets of twins or triplets or however many different conditions you're testing. Show me one. They don't fucking exist. Still.
And finally, meta-analyses.
See how your pyramid here does not have a bottom rung that says opinions are at the bottom? Underneath my studies. Because this is an opinion, still. Meta-analyses. Right, meta-analyses of junk are just a big pile. Remember how I said before, a pile of shit isn't a higher quality just because you put more shit in it? It's still a pile of shit. Well, that's what a meta-analysis of shit is. A meta-analysis is only any good if it's a meta-analysis of studies of high quality, which, Gil, still do not fucking exist as regards health outcomes versus any aspect of dietary intervention in human beings over any period of time. We are done. 6 swings, 6 strikes, not a damn thing worth shit from you once again, Gil Carvalho. Wow.
Meta-analyses also help you get at preponderance, the second P.
Ah, right. So they help you absolutely establish your appeal to consensus fallacy by being a large-scale study of very poor quality studies, thus meaning that the overall outcome statistic from such studies is itself therefore necessarily of very low quality. Good.
Because they give you a snapshot of the big picture. So
no, they don't. They just tell you how big your pile of shit is. We all know that the pile of shit is a pile of shit, and all a meta-analysis does is to tell us how big that pile of shit is.
Information gives you a simple and an actionable framework.
No, it doesn't. Well, it does if you're an imbecile, Gil, like you are. And once again with the face thing. Wow. Yep.
If you hear somebody making claims and there's no evidence, you spot it.
Right. Well, that's anybody making claims. Because there isn't any evidence as regards human health outcomes of any kind as it relates to any aspect of nutritional intervention of any kind over any period of time. Good.
If the evidence is in mice or rats and the claim is for humans, you spot it.
Did you hear that, Lame Norton? Nut-nibbling Nicky Nitwits, I mean, with your nunscullery and your nonsensical nitwittery. Did you hear that? Mices and mices and rats and no good.
If the evidence is in a tribe somewhere in an island, boom.
Or if the evidence is in a group of people that's not you, guess what the applicability is to you? That's right, kids. Fuck all. What's next?
Spot it, right? And you're
No, wrong.
always looking for evidence higher up that pyramid.
According to the opinions of the people who put that thing together, even though it says at the bottom that opinions are no good. And the thing that says randomised control trial meta-analyses are the best, even though there aren't any randomised control trials that meet the standards of epistemology of science, because ethics committees won't allow that. You can't experiment on human beings. It's a sad fact.
All right, hope that helps. And
Well, it did help us with our humour. It helped raise all of our moods, knowing that we all are vastly more intelligent than you are, Gil Carvalho. See how that works with the antagonism? It makes me wrong if I at all say anything antagonistic towards you, Gil. I'm in the wrong. That's a good anecdote for you. You can take that to the bank.
as always, let me know your thoughts below.
I think I've let you know my thoughts here, as always. And as always, Gil, I suspect you'll ignore them completely and pretend you haven't seen this video, pretend you don't know who I am. And when I say, Gil, come and have a debate with me about science, that's what we'll get, isn't it, kids? Anyway, there it is.
And we got a lot of exciting videos coming out.
I doubt that very much, Gil. Anyway, Gil's summing up, so I can sum up and say, well, Gil, you're a waste of space. What do you think, Ted?
Are you retarded?
Yes, I thought you'd say that. Well, what's left to do? Acknowledge Harry. It's always good to have Harry in the house. Most meta-analysis include mostly poor studies. Yeah, I think that's what I said. Yeah, good. It's almost like what I'm saying is correct. According to consensus fallacy, Harry, isn't it? A consensus of two. You and I, son. RCTs are all based on free-living people that never follow instructions. Yep, absolutely. Good, good, good. Ryan's in the house. Good to see you, Ryan. And Hobby's here as well. Meta preponderances of opinion, yes. Bravo, bravo to myself and Harry. Yes, the King of Tasmania. All good. Right. Okay. It's been fun sharing another hour or so with you folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed this, consider joining my Patreon system at the $10 US or above level, because starting this week I am recording the first of a series of videos which will be a new course, a new educational course for you all. And it's how to critically read a research article, so that when some buffoon waves a paper in front of you and says, look, see, here's proof that you're wrong and it's absolute proof that X, Y, or Z is true and that you're not right, that you can basically tear that person 7 new arseholes. Wouldn't that be worthwhile? Would that be something that you'd enjoy being able to do without having to think about it or break a sweat or feel put upon? You could just, in a relaxed and casual fashion, you could just start going through the list of things that you can go through to absolutely tear that paper to bits, because there's not one of them that's any good. Every single one of these papers that these idiots wave in front of you will fall flat on its face within minutes when you've got the skills. I have the skills. I'm safe and effective, trustworthy, and I'm the science. Don't question the science. Just join my Patreon and I'll teach you everything I know about how to read papers in a critical way. Do that straight after this, after I've sung this song, the song that goes a bit like this. Steak and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast, Ted. Delicious eggs and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. I think they've got it. Yes, I think they have, Ted. Join me next time when someone will be less offensive than Gil Carvalho, perhaps. Or maybe not. Hit the button, Ted.